First story. Been cheated on at the beginning of a 12-year relationship. Now I'm falling apart. Long message here. Please can someone find the time to advise or talk to me? So I've been with my fiancé for 12 years now and we've done a lot together. Had 2 kids in the last 6 years. Then we also bought a home together. Been on holidays and spent time together a lot. Honestly, I met her when I was 20 years old and she quickly captured my heart so fast. This was my first relationship, kiss, sex, etc. I wanted to be with her because we were friends for 4 months and it just grew and grew between us and she felt the same way. I'm extremely loyal, which I'm proud of. So if I'm with someone, I'm just committed to them and have maintained that all these years. I buy her gifts spontaneously, support her a lot, I work and earn. So she doesn't need to whilst she's caring for our kids. Our life together has been great. But 6 weeks ago, she hit me with a huge blow to our relationship. She told me that when we first together, her and her ex were still technically together. I had no idea about this. But she said around 2 months into our relationship, she had doubts that me and her would work. So she began leaning on him more. Again, I had no idea. She eventually said she was going through a push and pull over us both, which resulted in an incident behind my back where both were kissing and one thing almost led to another, but she pulled away and came to her senses. Now when she came to me that weekend, I remember something was off, but she never fully explained what had happened. She's told me this ex did stick around from time to time, which I did have an incline about, but she assured me he was now her friend. Naive of me, I know. But I was 20 and completely in love. I think I have been in a state of denial about the past, because honestly looking back, knowing he was around made me extremely insecure and anxious a lot. I always felt something was off. Eventually though, she did get rid of him and both of us spent a lot of time building together. Within our first year however, she's told me now that she engaged in sexting with a guy she used to be friends with in school. I remembered seeing him on a night out we both had and thought it was strange. He was hanging around. She said nothing sexually happened, nor did they kiss. But she engaged in a sexting conversation as I slept beside her, which was just heartbreaking to hear. I also was never told over the years. So fast forward to 2015. We'd both moved into our own home and both of us had started working. This is when the worst happened. We threw a Halloween party and invited all our work friends. She told me she begun having feelings for a guy she worked with. By Christmas, they had kissed and engaged in an affair behind my back for 3 months. What's more, she said she was also painting me out to be this really horrible person at her workplace. She even said I was hitting her, which is unbelievably offensive as I'm literally incapable of engaging in an argument, let alone full on hitting anyone, especially a woman, especially someone I loved. She swears nothing sexual happened between her and this guy, but she did believe at the time she loved him. She has shared everything she said about me behind my back, which has devastated me, and even said she took advantage of how naive I was. When he came to making her choose between us, she said she couldn't leave me, realizing she loved me and ended things. She did tell me things happened back then, but not to the extent of the affair. She quit her job instantly and blocked every single person from her workplace. I thought was strange at the time, but she didn't fully explain anything to me. So fast forward 8.5 years later. Nothing has happened since. She has said she was young, stupid and has been tearing herself inside out with guilt over everything. She said she believes she was suffering from depression at the beginning, saying it's no excuse of course, but she has stated she'd do anything to put things right. She's had therapy for depression. A lot stemmed from her abusive dad when she was a child. Anything to make amends and correct the past. She said she sat on all of this because she was terrified of losing me because she did realize in 2016 how much she loved me and didn't want to lose me. So what about me? I've been devastated by all of this, I'll be honest. My heart feels like it's been stomped and smacked around some. It's been 6 weeks and I'll be honest, she has been extremely helpful in being there for me through it. But honestly, I've been reflecting on mistakes I may have made. Was I too clingy? Did I behave immature or something? I can't even see the years 2015, 2016 anymore without feeling sick. It's like an illness. It's now spreading to more memories. I look at photos of us and think and wonder how she could do all this behind my back. But I know she is genuinely sorry for everything. So much so she's removed every single item of clothing she wore at those times. Removed music that she listened to. We recently got rid of our bed and she said over and over she hates herself knowing what she did. She said she's spent 8.5 years trying to make it up to me in her own way. But my mental health has been rocked by this. I feel like I'm in this strange grieving process and everything feels numb. I am still with her, because I'm obviously an idiot, right? But I just want to know if all these questions and feelings I'm having are normal. Is this normal? Can anyone offer genuine advice? I know a lot will say leave, but this has been 12 years of my life, and it's not something I just wanted to decide quick. She knows I'm still deciding and could change, but can someone help me? I feel so alone at the moment and unloved, it's crazy. Second story. My M30 ex-fiancé, F29, broke up and I keep blaming myself due to the unknown. My fiancé and I had known each other for 2.5 years and lived together for 2. She also had a little boy who I had hoped to become a father to his mother's graduation little more than a year out. She was innocent, funny, came from a similar background as mine, and pretty much helped her after her ex sexually assaulted her just as we started dating. She was a wreck and I helped her pull through it. We had love and trust, endured hardships, and we're excellent partners that could do anything together. We crushed it in the bedroom, at the gym, and raising a little boy together. Cut to this year, spring semester, her male friend who is bisexual starts spending a lot of time with her. He has only ever dated girls though. He gives her his old clothes, starts getting her little gifts, starts talking on Snapchat, and they're sending selfies like crazy. I was bothered by this, as I wasn't getting the same amount of attention at that time. After a while I checked her phone. Nothing outright incriminating, but questionable due to frequency and it being Snapchat. She only recently got it after meeting the guy. I begin to check more often as her behavior is changing. They're talking about toys. He sent her a picture of his room. She says it looks comfy. He's getting her coffee every morning at school and they're texting nonstop. She also begins complaining to him about me, but that was only once. I'm watching her son for her late night classes, and she begins coming home later and later. I eventually put my foot down and say that's not cool. Start setting up boundaries and she says I'm controlling. We admit we're going through a rough patch, and for 3 months we're trying our best to stay afloat. Sex is normal as is intimacy for what moments we have when we are not busy. I understand the burdens that come with being a mom, being a student, and working. I accommodate with babysitting and paying close to 2/3 RDS of the bills. Meanwhile my anxiety is skyrocketing as is hers as she begins to say I'm acting like her ex, which is just insulting to me. But with her trauma I can't really find a response to answer for her. Her ex used to steal from her, lie constantly, and abused her physically and sexually. I've barely raised my voice. Later on in the month, I get laid off as a teacher due to tenure issues and have trouble finding work for next year. She wasn't supportive, but scared if would be able to find work. Anyways, 2 weeks before school's end we're hoping to see change, at least I am. Her son's birthday happens, guy friend is there and we are quaint. While I'm cooking for the party they go off somewhere at the venue. We took separate cars so before I leave to put melting ice cream cake away, she looks at me and says she'll see me at the house. They're the last 2 people there aside from her son who is all set in her car. The attitude I got from her face was, "Leave us alone," but that could be me paranoid. The next day I walk by and see on her phone what looks to be a photo of her guy friend with hearts underneath as she's closing out her tabs. Does this every time I walk by, says it's related to trauma. I have a panic attack, and she asks why. Told her what I thought I saw and she closes her phone and skids it over to me asking if I wanted to check. She says it wasn't what I saw but I refuse to check her phone anymore. The rest of the evening goes to shit. She says she's thinking about ending the relationship. I agree that things are hard and am brought to tears and leave for my folks to get my head straight for the weekend. I do so, come back and she's at the table waiting for me. She says, "I think you need someone to give you more attention and I'm deciding to break things off." I suggest counseling. No. I suggest a mini break. I just need to get a place of my own to work out my stress and I need to be on my own. I'm left in ruin as we move for the remainder of the month. We decide to both move out. I find a place first at the first of the month. When we end up having to clear and move everything out, that guy is still there, accommodating her all the way through it. Now that the whole thing is drawing to a close, I'm left wondering, was she emotionally cheating? Was I being emotionally abusive? Or were we both so hyped up on anxiety we came to conclusion this wasn't right for us? I was willing to try and work things out, but in the best case scenario, she might not have been ready to be with anyone because of her trauma. I'm left with questions I feel like I'll never get the answers to, and deep in my pessimistic heart, I feel like I knew this wasn't going to work because that's just how things are for me. I want conclusive answers so I can learn from my mistakes, but I feel like I'll never get them. The future life we had planned is dead. I'm not even sure if the person I fell in love with even existed. My entire reality about how love feels and works has left me a hopeless shell. Fiancé got a guy friend, she was acting sus. I reacted anxiously, she was dismissive. Led to months of anxiety. Now, broken up. I'm left wondering if I did something wrong or was I valid in my emotions. I'm blaming myself for how I may have reacted, or if I was right and how my self-esteem has left me entirely. Third story. Finally getting it out. Been lurking for quite a while and am just now starting to get the strength to move on. Some background: me, M40, wife, F40, have been together for 20 years, married for 18. The last 3 years have been a roller coaster and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I honestly don't know why I'm posting other than I don't want to feel so alone in this anymore. I feel like I'm hiding a secret that isn't even mine to protect. I feel ashamed and I was the one cheated on. I really guess I just want some of support since the only support system I had was my wife and her family. Now that's gone. The last 6 weeks I've been away for work on the other side of the world, and it's given me time to start writing a letter to my STBXW, and don't even know if it will get her to accept any sliver of accountability for a marriage ending. If anyone has the time, I'll post the letter under this message as maybe someone will have some advice or insight because I'm struggling. Soon to be ex-wife. It is with a heavy heart that I write this letter. Our journey over the past 20 years has been filled with both joy and sorrow. We've faced incredible challenges, including miscarriages, illnesses, the rigors of military life, and the trials of cross-country moves. We celebrated the births of our 2 wonderful boys and navigated through a global pandemic. Through it all, I always considered you the love of my life. In recent years, however, our relationship became increasingly strained. I battled depression and suicidal thoughts while you faced challenges at work and with your mother's health. Despite seeking therapy and striving to repair our relationship, you grew more distant. Your words, "I wish I had never met you, and me and the boys would be better off without you," drove me deeper into despair and led to a suicide attempt. A picture of you and our boys saved me from taking my own life that night. You called me a narcissist and said things that changed me forever. Your words cut deeply, and you never offered the love or support I desperately needed. Instead, you turned your back on me, leaving me to face everything alone. I held out hope that things would improve once I had a stable job and could provide for our family. While I was in Taiwan, focusing on work to support us, you made the decision to have multiple affairs. If your accounts hadn't been hacked, I might never have known. You could have honored our marriage by telling me it was over when you developed feelings for someone else. Instead, you hid it from me and violated the sanctity of our home by bringing other men into our bed with our boys in the next room. The thought of the trauma they could have experienced haunts me. I should have known there was no chance for us to work after your actions. I know you lied, hid things, and manipulated situations several times just during our attempted reconciliation. I'm still furious about the trip you took right before I got back from Taiwan with AP1 and that Facebook group. You told me one thing, and then when the time came for you to come home so we could surprise the boys together, you decided to stay an extra day. Then you blatantly lied about both the night you met AP2 for coffee at the local coffee shop and again about the casino trip. You could have easily come home that night, but instead chose to spend the night not at the casino but another hotel. That's where your story falls apart. That trip was for sex. I know this because I saw some of the messages between the two of you. It was pretty easy to tell when I could see the beginning of them when your phone was lying around. No, I wasn't spying on you. Oh, and the camping trip with me and the boys, you couldn't even just be with us. Instead, the first thing you did when you woke up was message AP2. Then you got mad at me for being upset about it. Clearly, you didn't care about me or the boys at that time. You introduced one of these men to our boys as a friend and had unprotected sex with both, disregarding the risks of STDs and pregnancy. This betrayal was profound, especially considering the precautions we took after my vasectomy. I can't imagine your reaction if I had done the same. I was foolish to try to make things work and to accept you being with others. Your deceit and betrayal showed me that you never truly loved me. Despite my flaws and struggles, I never considered being with someone else, even when you wouldn't touch me for over 2 years. These last 6 weeks away have given me perspective on our marriage. I see my faults and am sorry for them, but I also see that you used my past trauma as a way to win every argument because you knew I would shut down at some point. This was your way of making everything my fault and never accepting your part in our problems. I still struggle with what you told me was the only thing wrong in our relationship, and that was I should have left earlier. I learned not to come to you with issues or concerns about our relationship, because you would twist those issues into something that was my fault, or if I was more mature or less anxious, it was always something with me, never you. I supported you in all your endeavors, yet you couldn't even congratulate me when I graduated with a degree that I never thought I would have. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts. Your actions reveal that you projected your own narcissistic traits onto me. When I was no longer your supply, you found others to fill that role. Even when pulled in many directions, you always sought the spotlight but never supported me when I needed you most. I watched as your personality changed based on who you were around. Things you used to get mad at me for were now okay for you to do. When I wanted to go out with friends, there were always stipulations. When you would go out with your friends, you wouldn't even answer my texts when I was worried that you hadn't even texted after the time you told me you would be home. Then you always had an excuse for it. You had to take people home, or you were waiting for other people. Still no valid reason as to why you couldn't just let me know you were alive. I also suspect you had an affair while I was in Iraq with the man training you for the triathlon. Your broken leg and his subsequent absence make me believe something more was happening. Your ability to hide your sexual orientation for so long suggests you were capable of lying and hiding things without a second thought. I now see who you truly are, and it's someone I don't recognize or want to know. I hope you someday realize the heartlessness of your actions. I wish you find whatever it is you're looking for, just know that I won't be there. You decided what you wanted was more important than everything we struggled to build and vowed to each other. I may not have been a good husband, but in the end you and you alone killed our marriage, but more importantly you killed our friendship. Fourth story. Am I overthinking and exaggerating? Am I overthinking? Hi, me and my wife have been married for 2 y and together for 6. 3 y ago she got invited to be in the bridal party of her sister. Once I found out that there would be strippers, I straight away expressed my dislike to the idea. She told me it would be something classy and there would be no nasty stuff. We had a fight and I just went with the flow. Anyways, they got this place far away rented for a weekend and off she went. Just about a few months ago I found out the videos of the party she was dancing with, riding on and licking the body of one of the strippers. The whole bridal party was playing games. I got really angry, but I decided to stay quiet. I thought that was the whole point of having strippers and I just decided to let it go. However, a few days ago she told me that one of the girls, the single one, ended up having sex with one of the strippers. That was it for me. I lost my head. I told her that the party was really nasty for that to happen. And if that happened there was no guarantee that she hadn't gone off the tracks too. She then told me that she didn't do anything, that she didn't even touch the strippers, that it was all about her sister, and that the girl that had sex was single, and she ended up seeing the guy for a while after. I didn't tell her straight away that I knew she was lying. On the next day I confronted her with the truth. She said she lied because she was scared of my reaction. She apologized and said that she was really drunk but nothing more had happened. I just said that she broke the trust and that I didn't know what to believe anymore. We have a 2-year-old daughter, which makes any decision more complicated. I believe that if wasn't for that I would have asked for divorce. Anyways, we were good for a few days, but it still triggers me. I haven't been alright since that. Today we had a conversation and I told her that I am still quite angry. I am from another country. She told me that is a tradition in her culture to do a hen's party like this, and that nothing had happened. Honestly, this whole thing is just too much for me. I don't see the point and I wouldn't do something that she doesn't feel comfortable with. I am just trying to figure out what to do. The anger has been draining my energy for the past few days. All the videos keep going through my head on repeat and I just feel sorry for my daughter. I really love my wife and I think she loves me, but sometimes she does things that make me feel insecure. Now, all I wanna do is to make her feel the same, make her doubt me and feel the same agony I am going through. I told her that. She told me I am being paranoid and I am overthinking and exaggerating the whole thing. She even spoke with her sister and told I am welcome to call her to clarify the whole thing. I have seen many cheaters in my early years. I just think that at this point if she is guilty she would say anything to hide the truth. It is really hard for me to trust her word now. Fifth story. My GFX was cheating on me with her gay best friend. Me 23M, found out my ex-GF of 3 years, Brie, was sleeping with her so-called gay guy friend. Let's say his name is Tommy. Her and Tommy became friends at an Olive Garden. They were co-workers and had been friends for about a year. I shared an apartment with Brie at the time and basically Tommy because he was over almost every night and would sometimes even sleep on our couch, even though he had his own studio. One night I got home late from an 11-hour shift and I decided to stay and help close. When I got there I saw both of them sitting on my couch, and Brie was laying in Tommy's arms. I didn't think too much of it and brushed it off because I thought he was gay. I was convinced he was very gay because every time me and Tommy make eye contact, he always does the same thing. Give me a flirtatious smirk, and would always wink at me, and he even wore girl clothes such as crop tops, dresses, and even thongs. He would purposely pull up so everyone can see it. As I walked in I didn't say a word and looked at them and Tommy's face was blank. I took a closer look and noticed he was sweating and I seen Brie kind of flinch out of his arms when I first walked in and she had this scared look on her face. I started to feel very sus, but didn't say anything because I didn't want to cause a scene, plus I was already worn out from working all day. As I was taking a shower, I was also thinking why Bri looked at me like that. I hopped out of the shower, and when I came out of the bathroom I watched Tommy leave and noticed he wasn't wearing the girly clothes he usually wears. When he was leaving, it's almost like he didn't want to look at me, it's like he was too embarrassed. As I walked into our bedroom, I noticed the smell, and I knew immediately what had just went down. I went to the living room with just a towel, and Bri was already crying because she knew I just caught on to what was going on. I was so exhausted, I couldn't even yell at her, but I calmly told her that I wanted her out in an hour. She immediately started yelling at me, and assuming I came home late because I was cheating and saying I text other girls behind her back. I tossed my phone to her and told her to show me the girls I texted. She knew she was in the wrong and didn't even bother proving any of her point, and she just started saying sorry to me. I was furious and got a burst of energy, but instead of using that energy to yell at her, I went to the room and packed her stuff. After packing, I cooled off for a bit and realized what I was doing. I was devastated. I went out to the living room and agreed to speak with her if she remained calm, and told her if she told me how long her and Tommy have been going at it, I would expect her apology. When she was talking, I was too heartbroken to listen. All I heard was her say her and Tommy have been sleeping with each other for a couple of weeks now. She kept saying sorry after she told me everything and even said she won't see Tommy anymore. I expected her apology and told her that we were no longer a thing anymore. She was sobbing, so I called her Uber back to her house with her mom. As I helped her take her stuff into the Uber, and she told me this didn't have to happen and hope I give her a second chance. I didn't say a word because what she was saying was irritating me. When she got home, her mom texted me and asked what happened, and I told her to ask Bri, and proceeded to block both of their numbers because I knew the kind of person Bri was and she was going to try and find a way to put the blame on me. Me and Bri still followed each other on social media, and I see her watching my stories after starting a gym journey. It's been 2 years now, and I haven't heard a word from Bri, even though she still watches my stories. I'm still single and I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. Sixth story. Struggling with recovery from spouse's infidelity. Recently caught my wife of a few years cheating on me with her boss. Specifically, I caught her and him sending videos of themselves masturbating to each other using Instagram chat, which instantly deletes the conversation. I will explain how I caught this, but let me first explain the background context to help explain my struggles. I confronted her and this was the story I received from her. She was at a work party with her team. Throughout the party she had 2-3 alcoholic drinks. When the party ended, she drove home. During her drive home she was on the phone with him for 45 minutes discussing work strategy. She said in the last 5 minutes of the call before she got home, it turned sexual as he started by telling her all the dirty things he wanted to do to her. She said she felt trapped to these fantasies as she was struggling in a relationship due to issues of me not emotionally fulfilling her, and that her boss, who has been her mentor, being there for the ups and downs of work, emotionally allowed her to decide to engage him. When she got home late, I was sleeping already in the bedroom. She went to the living room and proceeded to send him multiple videos of her masturbating, while also receiving videos of him masturbating. There was sexual text banter back and forth in between all of this. They wrapped up, she orgasmed, and came to bed and lied beside me. I witnessed part of this exchange between them as I creeped and peered around the corner. This put me into shock. I returned to the bedroom dumbfounded, and decided now wasn't the time to act, as I was not clear-headed and didn't want to do anything stupid. The next morning I decided to check our home security cameras, which we both have access to see if it caught any of what I witnessed. The camera, which faces out a window, recorded her via a glare in the window, which bounced back the footage of her on the couch masturbating and sending these messages. This is what led me to finally confront her, as I now knew I wasn't imagining things the night before. She stated that this was a one-time incident and it was never anything more than that, saying it was purely sexting and nothing physical. My concern is that it was too easy for her to progress that quickly from never being sexually intimate ever to going full-on right up to the point where the next step would have been being physical. Since this, we are still together and in couples therapy. She has quit her job and cut all contact from him. She sent him a final text stating that what sexually happened between them was unacceptable and set boundaries that they are never to speak again. He agreed to her message. She gave this to me as evidence. She has owned up to fault. However, I still struggle immensely getting over the idea that nothing physical occurred and that this was a one-time incident. During therapy, my spouse and I are in discussing of her contacting his wife and letting her know what my wife did with her husband. However, my spouse is working up the courage to do this. This concerns me too. If I was in her shoes, I'd do anything to prove to her that I'm making her a priority. I do think if it find out it was more than what she said it was on time sexting, it would make it harder to get past more because of her continuing to lie than the act of what she physically did. On the other hand, if her story is corroborated, I think it could help me move forward. Please help me navigate these tough times. 7th story. My best friend is cheating on his wife. I don't know if this is the right thread to post this, but I need help. My best friend, 33M, and I, 32M, have been inseparable since we were 5. We went to school together, did most of life's major milestones together, and I consider him my brother in all but blood. When his grandmother passed while we were in high school, she even had me in her will, leaving me a small trust to use for college. For as long as I can remember, his family has been mine and vice versa. We both got married in 2017. Our wives are very close and have been since we were dating. While I'm not as close with her as my wife, I see his wife like my sister and I care about her the same way. 3 days ago I was riding in my best friend's car when he asked me to put on some music. I picked up his phone and put in his code. We've both known each other's passcodes for years, and while I was navigating Spotify, a text came through from a pizza place that said coming over tonight. I sat there stunned for a few seconds before turning and asking him who the fuck pizza place was. He immediately started yelling at me for going through his messages before I told him what happened. He pulled over into a parking lot and spent a few minutes yelling at each other until he finally came clean. He's been hooking up with a co-worker for about a month. He says that he still loves his wife and has no intentions of leaving her. He begged me not to tell his wife, and that he's going to find a way to break it off with this other woman, but says he's in too deep to just ghost her and doesn't know how to cut it off yet. He swears it will never happen again and that his mistake doesn't ruin his and his wife's marriage. After some back and forth, I reluctantly agreed to stay quiet. But later that day I remembered something that might change my mind. He and his wife started the process of IVF a few months ago. I haven't pressed for details, but she has used my wife as support through the process, and I know it has been very taxing on her. Ultimately, my dilemma is this: is it right for me to keep this a secret? Knowing that they are trying to bring a child into the world, and knowing that child could be born into a broken home, if his wife finds out after she gets pregnant? I'm torn between the friend that I love like my brother, and what I feel would be the right thing to do. I know I'm not the one who is wronged here, but I feel so betrayed and angry. I feel like he's done something that's going to tear apart the small family the 4 of us have built together, and the bigger one we planned on having one day. I know he's not a bad person, and up to this point I'm pretty sure he's been a model husband. I'm so unsure what to do and I need help. My best friend is cheating on his wife and I don't know if I should tell her. 8th story. Still struggling. 5 years ago, my wife had an online affair with some guy overseas. It involved lots of naughty pictures, instructions, and even live web interactions where she would do things for him. The part that hurt the most was she occasionally sent me one or two of the pictures that were also going to him. I discovered this on her phone. She also admitted that she had let a guy touch her on the way home from the pub. I woke up to her shouting at him that she was going home to her husband because he had apparently expected more. To be fair, it was a very toxic time in our marriage. Faced with evidence and the threat that I could recover everything from her phone, she confessed everything but stopped short of ever admitting to a physical affair. Our marriage has gotten much better, but there is a horrible uncertainty which lingers due to a post she put on Reddit which I found. It was in the Ask Men subreddit and it said, "You're seeing a really hot woman who everybody in town wants to sleep with. Can you keep your big dumb mouth shut? And if you do, who would you tell?" To me this is a smoking gun, and she has never been able to logically explain it and tells me she has told me everything. Life is really good. We have 5 kids and our marriage is much better than it was, but this is like a hot coal in my stomach that occasionally reappears and causes me to panic and stress out. I have told her that I can forgive her, and mean it, if more was going on, but she insists that she has told me everything. Is that post a smoking gun? Could there be any other explanation besides a physical affair? Fling whatever. Please help with any ideas.